Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Amy Olson, your youth services consultant, and I get the extreme honor of introducing Stephanie Jones. Um, we're here for a Babygarten session, enhancing early literacy through interactive learning. And I got to tell you, I started bugging Stephanie about a year ago to present on this, and she was telling me a little bit of what it involved, and I was all in. So you guys are in for a treat. Stephanie's a recent grad over at UK in the library science, and she is now a Babygarten teacher at the Burlington Public Library up in Iowa. And she explores the role of interactive learning with early literacy development. And as background about Babygarten, Babygarten is a program designed for infants and their caregivers with a focus on fostering a love of books and language through song, rhymes, and book sharing, all of which tie in beautifully to the new initiatives coming out of the science of reading and incorporating nursery rhymes and songs into early literacy training. So sit back, get ready to enjoy. The entire presentation will be available, or is already available for you in the main room of this conference, and I will give you additional information in the chat. Stephanie, thank you so very much for being here. I can't even begin to say well, I already have. I'm super excited you're here. Thank you again for all the effort you've already put into this and your willingness to share with us. All right, guys, get ready for this. This is awesome.
Thank you so much. I hope I live up to that introduction. So welcome to Babygarten and enhancing early literacy through interactive learning. My name, as stated, is Stephanie Jones. I'm the Babygarten teacher at the Burlington Public Library. I have worked at this library for 13 years now, during which I've had the opportunity to work in every single department. I hold a bachelor's degree in elementary education, and as stated, I did recently get my master's degree in library science. Throughout my career, Babygarten has become my absolute favorite program, and I take such pride in it. In today's session, we are going to talk about the concepts of Babygarten and the significance of baby programming in fostering early literacy and development. So we're going to start with a quick icebreaker. We'll go into a little in-depth discussion on Babygarten, and finally we'll have time for questions. So anything that you might want to ask, we will have time at the end for it. So for our icebreaker, I want each of you to think back to your favorite childhood book. Just take a moment and share your favorite book and why it's your favorite, and put it in the chat window. Perhaps it was the story, the illustrations, or the connections you felt to the characters, or the memories even associated with it, if it was something really special to you, if you could share it. It's perfect. I noticed many wonderful books mentioned, a couple I've never even heard of, so I'm going to have to go back and look at them. For me, it's Where the Wild Things Are, specifically the line, "We'll eat you up, we love you so." I quote that constantly to my family. And this icebreaker is just an important way to show how early reading experiences impact our life. This exercise shows the profound effect that early exposure to stories and language has on our development. Books become more than just tools for literacy. They weave themselves into our emotions, relationships, and identities. So some of these stories might have a personal feel to them. Fostering a love of reading from a young age isn't just about academic success in the future. It's about nurturing. It's about creativity, empathy, and emotional expression. By cultivating these connections through books, we help children build lifelong connections and relationships with reading, which not only enriches their intellect, but also their personal lives, their social lives as they grow up. So what is Babygarten? You've heard me say it many times, but what really is it? It's a program for infants and caregivers with a central focus on developing those early literacy skills through engaging in interactive activities. The primary goal is to cultivate that love for books and reading at a very young age, because we're never too young to start. Each session creates a rich language-filled environment where the babies are immersed in a variety of activities. They're usually songs, rhymes, finger plays, and shared reading as a group, which are all carefully chosen with the goal of language acquisition and cognitive growth. Songs and rhymes introduce babies to sounds and rhythms of language, while finger plays help develop those fine motor skills and that hand-eye coordination, which are so important. And this group book sharing helps infants begin to associate reading with joy, comfort, and bonding. It's not just somebody repeating words back to them. It's this place of comfort. And like we saw, something we read when we were little grows into something that comes with us forever. Through these combination of activities, Babygarten not only lays the foundation for early literacy, but fosters a meaningful connection between caregivers, their babies. It creates a social environment for them to develop these skills that will benefit them, not just now, but in the future. So Babygarten is so important. It's not just a playtime, it's actually a place to learn and develop. And that is just a pivotal role of the setting of Babygarten. In the earliest months and years of a baby's brain, they are receptive to absorbing the building blocks of language and communication. They've got little sponges for brains. So it's important that we tap into that. And Babygarten provides a unique environment that supports that foundation. It introduces babies to books and reading in a manner that, again, it's not just reading at them. It's interactive, it's fun, it brings them into the conversation. The exposure promotes positivity and brings those skills to life. In addition to the direct benefits for infants, it also creates an opportunity for caregivers to bond with their infants in meaningful and rich ways, because sometimes parents don't know what to do to get closer to their babies, and this is a wonderful period for them to be together. Participating in reading and language activities together strengthens that connection between them. And as the caregivers are modeling these reading behaviors, such as turning pages, pointing at pictures, using animated voices, because I always encourage, don't just use a flat voice, be energetic and change your voices. These babies will begin to understand the interactive nature of books. This shared experience reinforces the caregiver-child bond and establishes a routine around reading that can extend to the home environment. So it's not just at Babygarten, they take these skills home. It also provides a social platform, not just for the babies, but for the caregivers as well. Parenting is so hard. And so this allows the caregivers to create a supportive community where they can interact with other adults going through similar experiences. So while the babies are in parallel play because they don't know how to do cooperative play yet, the parents are building this safe space as well for themselves and building confidence in themselves as educators. And then Babygarten, very important, it supports language development, and this is by providing stimuli for them through songs, rhymes, and stories. So they're learning how language works and how to recognize sound patterns. So this is to show them that it is an essential part of that long-term language growth. And on top of what's important, there's the benefits. Babygarten is a multifaceted program, and it's designed to support holistic development of infants, and it offers a range of benefits to address key areas of growth. First and foremost is cognitive development, which is fostered by introducing babies to new concepts and ideas. So through story time, the babies are exposed to different sounds, images, and scenarios, which help stimulate their curiosity and encourage brain development. And then repeated exposure to them helps promote memory and pattern recognition, which is so critical for them. Then we have the language development, the language skills, which is a core focus. Listening to these rhymes and these songs over time, this helps them to gain an understanding of language and then makes a connection between sounds and their meanings. And then there's also the motor development, because it's so important with these growing babies. So during hands-on activities, they get to practice their fine motor skills through grasping at objects or coordinating their hand movements. And then we have gross motor skills that are developed through physical activities, because one of our guidelines is your babies do not need to sit still. They don't need to sit in your lap. They're littles. They can't. So by bouncing, clapping, dancing, they're growing those muscles and learning coordination. And most importantly, it supports emotional development. And like I've said before, that safe, nurturing environment builds a place where they can bond and the babies feel valued and loved and secure, which is so important. It builds trust and attachment. And through this interaction with caregivers and the other babies in the room, they begin to develop social skills. And they learn how to develop eye contact, taking turns, emotional expression. They also learn a sense of community, which is wonderful both for the infant and for the caregiver. So let's get into the best part. It's actually talking about a Babygarten session. So normally Babygarten lasts about 6 weeks. Right now it'll only be 5 weeks because we'll miss a week for Thanksgiving. So your library would just do based on what works for you. Each session is carefully designed to include several key components that support early literacy, socialization, and bonding between caregivers and babies. The structure and consistency of these sessions offer both the repetition necessary for infant development and a sense of progression for the families. So our first part here, you can see in the corner, is circle time. Each session begins with a circle time where we start by offering a parent tip that offers practical guidance or insight into infant development. We are all learning together. We also learn together a simple gesture and sign language, which provides babies with that early exposure to nonverbal communication. A lot of the babies in there pick up on that sign language and are able to communicate their needs with it. So we do 2 simple gestures every week. The session continues with engaging songs and rhymes, which are carefully selected to capture their attention and prepare them for activities ahead. I try and repeat the ones where the babies laugh, where they giggle, where they find it more entertaining, and the ones that they don't like, I scrap them and maybe we'll try again at a different session. Initially, parents were given a song sheet to follow along, because you might be wondering how they know the songs. They were given a sheet of paper and it had a list of songs that we would pick a couple from and we would sing them. However, I transitioned to a PowerPoint presentation so that the parents could be hands-free and able to fully interact with their babies and not have to worry about this piece of paper that by the end of the day was normally covered in slobber and bite marks. So this is a more parent-centered approach, and then they can bond better through this. And then finally, after each song, we clap and say yay, so that we can model enthusiasm and promote a love of learning. So I always remind them, and again, another rule in Babygarten is that if we as adults are excited about literacy, our babies will be too. The second part is our story time, which is an essential part of each session where we read the same exact book aloud for the entire 6-week period. This repetition allows babies to become familiar with the story, which helps reinforce memory and language comprehension. We use expressive voices and gestures to capture the baby's attention while making the story come alive. Just as with the songs, we clap and say yay after reading to encourage engagement and enthusiasm. The positive reinforcement helps babies associate reading with joy and excitement while laying the groundwork for a love of books. Next, we have playtime. After the structured activities, we transition into our playtime. This is an opportunity for babies to explore a variety of toys and interact with their peers in a relaxed environment. It's not only beneficial for the infants, but it also creates a time for caregivers to connect. Many parents have used this time to schedule play dates. They have built little communities and networks through this little section of time, and it's fostering a sense of community for them. And finally is the keepsake craft time. Now, we only do this once. It's at the very end of that 6-week session, and we create a simple craft that relates to the book that we are reading, often incorporating the baby's handprints or footprints. The personal touch allows parents to reflect on their baby's growth over the 6 weeks, and it's also a fun and meaningful keepsake that they can look back on for years and see how much their baby has grown. And then finally, during this keepsake craft time, they are given the book that we read during the session with a sticker on the back, because I am hopelessly sentimental and I want to know where all of my kids' books came from, so I feel like they might want to. So on the back has a sticker with their baby's name on it and when they got it. So then they're able to build their home library. So it doesn't just stay with us at the library, it goes home and they can really promote that love of reading there. And this is just an example of one of our keepsake crafts. We read Barnyard Dance and created a handprint cow that related back to the book. You see the little handprint on there. We used thumbs to try and make the dots just so that they could get this different feel and you could see how much the baby grows. So another crucial part of programming for infants is baby sensory. Now, this is actually a program that I pioneered 3 years ago, and it's specifically designed to engage infants in activities that stimulate their senses of sight, sound, touch, taste, and smell. These early sensory experiences are crucial for building nerve connections in the brain, developing both fine and gross motor skills, supporting cognitive growth, and promoting emotional regulation. Babies learn by exploring their environment through their senses, and this program creates a safe space for that. So this is our messier Babygarten, pretty much. I offer this a few times a year to complement or enhance other programs. For example, we have a program called Pumpkin Palooza. It's all things pumpkin and it's family friendly. So during this time, I hold a special baby sensory that involves reading a pumpkin themed book, followed by an exploration of pumpkins where the babies get to squish and feel and explore the textures of the pumpkins. So it's a hands-on experience. They get to smell it, a lot of them taste it. So it really promotes using those senses. Each session of baby sensory introduces babies to new sensations, which can be exciting, but it's also very overwhelming. So word of caution, not all babies immediately enjoy the new sensations. And I've had at least one baby cry in every single session, and you feel terrible, but if you show them it's safe by touching it yourself, normally it eases that apprehension and they dive right in, or they start touching it with their toes because that's a little bit safer. And over time, they get used to it. It can also be incorporated into Babygarten as well by blending baby sensory with the activities with traditional Babygarten elements such as circle time or story time. So you have that more holistic developmental experience that engages babies on multiple levels, and it can enhance their sensory, motor, and cognitive skills, all while fostering curiosity and early literacy in that supportive environment so they're not scared. Sorry. So before we wrap up, I'd like to address some common questions about Babygarten and baby programming. Sorry, everyone, I have a little bit of a tickle all of a sudden. So first of all, what age group is Babygarten designed for? It is typically aimed for infants ages 0 to 24 months. However, this can vary depending on your library and your babies. So babies develop at different paces. And I've had instances where some babies are just not ready to move on, and that's absolutely fine. So they stayed in Babygarten well after that second birthday. I have one that is staying until next summer, where he'll be 2.5 because he's not ready yet, and that's absolutely fine by me. I'm happy to keep him. Do I need to register in advance? Yes, we encourage registration to ensure that we have enough materials and enough space. I actually prefer smaller class sizes that allow me to get to know each baby and their families individually. So it's usually about 12 per class. In the summer, however, I do not have registration because we're outside. I don't have the limits of a room. And that led me to having a class of about 35 babies. So when we begin each class, we go around and say everyone's name. By the end of it, we were out of breath. There were so many babies. And then what should caregivers bring to a Babygarten session? Well, they should bring themselves and their babies along with the essentials that they might need, the diapers, the bottles, but everything for the activities, the books, the paint, the paper. The library provides all of that through our Friends of the Library funding, which we are so grateful for. So they don't have to worry about any of that. So those are the most popular questions I get, but if anyone has any questions, feel free to go ahead and ask them.
Stephanie, could you talk about the kind of the structure of what you're putting together for a program? Is it like every 6 weeks it's the same thing you do over, or are there books that are chosen for you from a determined selection group, which you had mentioned a little bit, I thought, or that I love this book, I want to incorporate it, let's use this. Could you talk a little bit about how the materials are selected?
Absolutely. So Babygarten happens 4 times in a year. It's 6-week sessions each time. Every time the book is different, and kind of the rhymes, etc., rotate based on which session we're in. So we'll do more fall things like 5 Little Pumpkins, but during the summer we'll do more fun, summery safari rhymes. So that part of it changes. The structure stays the same with the 4 parts of it. As for books, we try and go based on what's listed as popular books right now. And we, through the funding, we order about 30 of them. We kind of discuss a little bit in a small group what we think would work, but normally it's just based on those ratings and what's most popular right now. I lost Sandra Boynton books. That is a great question. Elizabeth asked about the slideshow if I use a helper. And luckily I have a pointer that changes the slides each time.
Other questions that people may have? Is there something like I know you mentioned with the sensory programs with that always or often have a child cry? Are there other kind of warnings that you give to us that hasn't worked for you, or by the other extreme of things that work so well you do them every time, like your yays and
We do find that our introduction song Choo Choo, the kids love it so much we do it every time. So now when I see them in public, they do their little choo choo hand. So we do that one every single time because of popularity. Um, I think the crying is the only thing on the negative sphere that I found. Luckily, it's not too horrible. They normally come back after a couple minutes. Again, another guideline is if they are having a rough day, they can step outside and tell, because babies are not emotionally ready for this. Um, I have found that using the feet help as well instead of their fingers.
I like that. That's fun. Do the kids sit on the caregiver's laps or by them? Do you encourage something specifically?
They can sit. A lot of our songs will involve the caregiver lifting them, or sometimes we'll swing them lightly. And I always say only swing if your baby enjoys it. But a lot of times I have the room completely baby proofed. We have the outlet protectors. My room is closed off so they can't escape until they get tall enough to touch my door handle. They are encouraged to just play around the room and make friends.
Do the parents wear, I keep asking questions. Where do you find the songs and the rhymes that you use?
So they were actually passed along to me. I can't take credit for them. The last person that was doing baby programming had a list created, which they gave to me when I took on the role.
Do you have the caregivers or parents wear name tags? Or are you just that good in larger groups of remembering names?
I do have the babies wear name tags. It's so many names to learn, but that way, when we do the introduction song, I don't miss any of them. And after a couple sessions, I do have their names down. One of the great things about the name tags is it also helps the others learn their names. And when they interact with someone else's baby, they say their name, and it's personalized, and it does make that community better. And I do encourage putting the name tags on their backs because they will rip them off if you don't.
Other questions that people have? And while you're typing, or feel free to take the mic. One thing I really liked about what you said is the opportunity for networking that's kind of integrated into the programming. And, the more we study all the different facets of poverty, and poverty in all economic levels. I mean, like this, if you're looking at the social aspects of poverty, it's a lack of one of the components that's always there is a lack of networking, and this really fits into that nicely, and I really like that.
And we do make a nice community building. I have babies from all aspects of life, and I have foster babies, I have brand new parents. So it's nice to see the various environments that these babies are coming from and that they can find someone to connect with.
Have you ever, out of curiosity, have you been able to run one bilingually or with an interpreter or something like that? How has that worked?
I would actually love to. I haven't had the opportunity. I have 3 babies that are bilingual, so their parents speak to them in both languages during it. But not the group, although I do think that would be very beneficial.
Huh. Well, I wonder if those parents might do it for you. That's really cool.
They're very kind, and they speak to me. They speak between the baby and I, back and forth between the languages. So it's not just the baby's learning, but I'm learning as well.
Well, I didn't see any questions. Oh, I advanced the slide so you could see Stephanie's email address. Um, she's amazingly quick to respond. I encourage you to reach out to her. Is smiling over there. Thank you so much, Stephanie, for doing all of this for us. I'll just speak for the crowd and just say we appreciate it. I don't want to cut off if you have more questions, though, so please either steal the mic or go ahead and type if you do have more questions. And just if you are doing that, I'm flipping to say thank you to IMLS and giving us our LSTA grants, and that we're able to do these type of services and trainings. So just wanted to shout out to them. And let's see, for everyone here, we have one more session left, and that will start at 3 in Eastern Time Zone and 2 in Central Time Zone. In room 1, Kate Shabby and Annie Ledford will be coming to us from the Louisville Free Public Library about managing youth services. In this room, if you want to stay put, Evan Hatter is coming from the Kentucky Talking Book Library, which is one of the wings that we have here at KDLA. And he's going to talk about all about the Talking Book Library and how to get resources for your patrons. And this includes patrons too that have dyslexia are eligible. And in room 3, Hack Hudson, who's from the Department of Education, is going to be doing a presentation on early literacy and giving us a brief overview of the science of reading. So taking a bunch of information and distilling it down for us. So get up and stretch, do what you need to do, and hopefully we'll see you back at 3 or 2, depending on which time zone you're at. And Stephanie, thank you yet again. That was wonderful.
Thank you.